Hello there, people of the internet. Today I'm out here with my volunteer enterprise, Thompson M1A1 look-alike. It's very clearly not an actual Thompson, but it is a look-alike, and it does serve the purposes for the sake of this video. Today I want to talk to you guys about the interchangeability of ammunition in the event that you find yourself in a situation that requires you to use some sort of weaponry. Not too terribly long ago, I had a discussion with the younger brother of a buddy of mine. And I mean, he was fairly young, but not like young. But he thought the idea of having interchangeable ammunition between your firearms was a completely ludicrous and nonsensical way of thinking. His idea was that why have two firearms that operate on the same ammunition, where you can have one firearm that operates on this ammo, one firearm that operates on this ammo. This way you have more availability whenever it comes to your ammunition. Like, let's say you were, well, we'll use this era for example. Let's say it's World War II, and you have yourself a 1911 and an M1 Garand. Let's say you come across some 30-06. Now you have more M1 Garand ammunition, whereas if you had yourself a Thompson, I just said Thompson. Whenever you have yourself a Thompson, if you come across that 30-06 ammunition, then it's completely useless to you, and you're still stuck with the ammunition that you have. I understand that way of thinking, but that is not what actually happens. Odds are, if you come across, 30-06 ammunition, you'll probably come across 45 ACP as well, or 30 carbine. The likelihood of you coming across the ammunition that you need is 1/3 of the ammunition that you probably would not need, just because those are the popular calibers that were used at the time. And whereas I do disagree with it, I at least understand where he's coming from, but I had to explain this to him, and I figured I'd go ahead and make a video explaining this to you guys as well. Let's say you're out there with an M1 Garand and you have 100 rounds of 30-06. I don't know, I just spitballed a random number out there. 100 rounds of 30-06. You fire off 15 rounds, 16 rounds, two in-block clips worth, and your M1 Garand goes down, your firing pin breaks, you had some mud in the barrel and you pulled the trigger and it detonates the barrel. Something happens and you lose your rifle. Well, the 80-something rounds left over that you have of 30-06 have officially become very expensive paperweights. And you have, let's say you have a 1911 as a sidearm. Not something that happened all that commonly for them to have sidearms back then, but it did happen. Let's say you have a 1911 as a sidearm, and you have 2 magazines for it. Now you have 14 rounds as opposed to the 100 that you would have otherwise if your primary arm had not gone down. Now let's say you have yourself a Thompson, and you're out there, you're fighting off the Nazis, and they're advancing, and lo and behold, a 9mm round just so happens to hit your bolt, and your Thompson saves your life, but at the risk of costing it its own. So now you have this very useless wall hanger out here in this battlefield, but guess what? The 150 rounds you have in your Thompson magazines can be loaded into your 1911 that you have on your sidearm. And now instead of just having 2 mags worth of 45 ACP for your 1911, you have 160 rounds for your 1911, which you can still use to fend off the enemy, as opposed to your very expensive 30-06 just laying on the floor over there next to your shattered M1 Garand and shattered dreams. That idea really puts a sour taste in my mouth. I don't like the idea of a destroyed M1 Garand, but I know for a fact it did happen. So just conceptually speaking, let's say you're out there on the front lines. Oh God, here come the Germans. 5 rounds later, oh no, my gun is no longer functioning for some reason, but I still have this stick of ammunition. Let me toss my Thompson to the side, which has become no longer functional, break out my 1911, and now I have a bunch of ammunition for the 1911 that I can use down the road, and I'm not over here trying to siphon out the ammunition that I have available to me. So it is a very, very simple concept, but a very valuable one. If you are out there, well, having ammunition interchangeability between your firearms is way, way, way more important than having two different calibers, just in case you just so happen to come across the ammunition for the caliber that you have. Now, this right here is just an example of wartime, but let's say it's, you know, SHTF time, and you have yourself this kind of opportunity where you're out there with not necessarily a Thompson, but a 45 caliber PCC, pistol caliber carbine, or a 9mm PCC or something like that, and you're fending off this group of marauders, and a 7.62 x 39 bullet goes right through your receiver on your PCC, and you're like, well, I can't use this anymore, toss it to the side. Maybe you're rocking, I don't know, a Glock 19, and the mags for your PCC cram right up into that Glock 19. Well, guess what? Now you have yourself a lot of ammo for your Glock 19, whereas if you were rocking like 223, you'd have, I don't know, 10 mags worth, 300 rounds of very heavy lawn ornaments at that point, because your 223 rifle had just gone down, and you are stuck with a 9mm, and you're having the ability to have two firearms that take the same cartridge just in case something happens is a hell of a lot more valuable than having two rifles and different cartridges, you know, in the off chance that you come across some of the ammunition that you might need. I wanted to bring this up just because it's a cool concept, and I wanted to share it with you guys. Parts interchangeability is also quite important whenever it comes to what it is that you're rocking, but having parts interchangeability between a primary and a secondary firearm is oftentimes not something that actually legitimately happens. Now, I do understand the idea that why carry, well, if you run out of ammunition for one gun, you run out of ammunition for the other one as well. But this is a concept that is created from video games and whatnot. A lot of times when you play Call of Duty and things like that, if you have a 1911, you have like 64 rounds for your 1911, but a Thompson, you have like 200 rounds, and once you run out of ammo for the Thompson, you pull out your 1911, you still have 64 rounds of 45 ACP for that thing. I always like kind of cringe whenever I see things like that. I'm like, no, I could very literally load that into the Thompson mags and use it through the Thompson. But I digress. That's just one of the things that gets on my nerves. But in a real life situation, you are just carrying a certain amount of ammunition. And if you run out of ammunition, you run out of ammunition. It doesn't matter if you're running out of, let's say you have 300 rounds of 223 and, I don't know, 5 mags of 12 rounds apiece, or 15 rounds apiece, logistically speaking, for your Glock. If you run out of that ammunition, you run out of that ammunition. But if a gun goes down, then that gun and that ammunition is officially no longer on the table to be used. Like I said, this right here is just kind of a conceptual video. It's an interesting idea, and it's an interesting take, and I wanted to bring that up. I thought it'd be interesting, so I'm going to add the word interesting one more time before I say, hey, thanks for watching, subscribe to the channel for more, like the video if you like the video, etc., etc. Links down in the description below have all sorts of goodies in them. Go check that out. I have an email list now. Check that out too. What else? I think that's it. I'm going to try and make one more video before the end of the day. We're nearing the end of the day, but it is just so nice out here. We are in the first cool day of Florida, or cool day in Florida towards the end of 2021. And it's comfortable for once. So I am taking full advantage of it and making as many videos as possible. So I'm going to go off, probably make myself another video. You guys go off, have a fantastic day, and thanks for watching. once I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garen. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.